No! No! No!
Welcome back, ghosts. This is the horror pop extravaganza. Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is the horror pop extravaganza, baby. And I'm Bob's Ghostly. With me, as always, is
Powers bottom.
Powers Bottom.
Yeah,
Powers. That's a strong name. Strong name for a strong bottom.
that's right. It's Powers booth and Powers bottom.
What's up, everybody? This is the Horror Pop Extravaganza. We bring you something a little on the macabre side, and then we try to pepper that with a little bit of mindful and hopefully leave you with a tasty dish that leaves you satisfied. Your ear holes satisfied. My old show, we always used to say we're here to make sweet love to your ear holes. That line, that one line was so divisive, dude. People either loved that shit or they fucking hated it. They were like, it sounds so gross. Stop saying you're going to make sweet love to my ear holes. But that was, around the time, that was like 2018 or so. So we had to say, like, we're going to make sweet consensual love to your ear holes. It was really important to make sure that people's ear holes were ready for that. Anyway, today, we've got a great one. Last week we brought you Spider Baby, which is a great one in its own right. It's wonderful. But if you're one of those cats who's like, I really don't dig on the old school shit, I dig on, a little something more modern. Maybe give me something post 1997, something post 2000. And even though this is just barely post 2000, it still is a post 2000 flick that I discovered working at the video store. We had talked about this when we had Nick Shargus on the show. All three of us reminisced about the joy of working in a fucking video store. You walk in, you smell it, you see it. There's pictures to look at. There's all these different things. And this came out around that time. I saw it on the wall, and I will watch anything at least once. I'll watch anything at least once. And being at a video store, I was like, I'm going to watch all of it. As many as you'll let me take home, I'm going to take them. And then when I'm not working, I'm going to sit around, smoke cigarettes, drink beer, and watch these movies when I'm not like partying with someone, maybe. And so I grabbed this flick off the shelf, and it was my introduction to Neil Marshall, which I think this was before The Descent, right? Yeah, this had to have been before The Descent. My introduction to Neil Marshall, who throughout his career, dude hasn't done a ton of things, but it's like everything he touched, I was a fan of. And I went back and looked at his filmography, and I'm like, dude, you really just you speak my language. This is one of my cinematic languages, and I like it. And this is a movie I've shared with people so many times. They're like, yo, give me a werewolf movie. I'm like, motherfucking Dog Soldiers, dude. Like, go to Dog Soldiers. And then there's people who, if you've seen the movie and they've seen it, it's almost an instant connection. They're like, oh, yeah, fuck, that's a great movie. Because it is under talked about or under discussed, It's just not up there with The Howling and Werewolf in Paris and Werewolf in London, and some of these other things. However, in 2002, when I chucked it into the VCR, maybe it was a DVD at the time, I don't know. I chucked it in, sat down, probably drank some Killian's Irish red beer, smoking some Marlboro, maybe special blend 28s or some shit. I don't know, whatever was on sale, most likely between lights and reds. Give me something in between there. And fuck, fell in love with this movie. Picked it up as soon as I could on a physical copy. I think I even might have bought it there because that was another cool thing too, is I had access to the ones that were going to go on sale soon, and we got an employee discount. So I'll be like, bruh, here's my whole paycheck. Give me all your movies. I'm taking all these movies. But you came after Spider Baby last week, and you're like, yo, let's do something good, dude. Like, give me something. I want something to be excited about. I want something to be thrilled about. I want something to give me a cinematic boner in a way that I haven't had in a while. And I'm like, dude, I've got your perfect boner juice. And here we are talking about 2002's Dog Soldiers. And I knew you were so in. I was excited. I'm gonna let you save a lot of this because I want to say, but you sent me a message and you sent me a line from the movie, and I was like, he likes this shit. He likes this shit. I was like, it's not just a little bit. I was like, this fool's invested now. It's a great line though. It's an awesome line. And then I didn't get a chance to fully rewatch it before we sat down and talked, but I've seen it many, many times. And I threw it on while I was doing something here in the office, looking up at some of my favorite pieces of it. But it is one that I feel I've seen. Once you start mentioning things, it's like, oh yeah, I watched this a lot because I introduced it to a lot of people. This is before streaming and shit. Like Netflix sent you your fucking DVDs in the mail. Or wait, Netflix wasn't even a thing yet. So you had to like, take this to your peoples and be like, yo, check this shit out or check this, watch this movie. And I showed Dog Soldiers to quite a few people because in 2002, this probably hit the video store 2003. So I was graduated high school 2001. So I'm 2 years out of high school, just getting ready to go to the military. And this fucking movie did like this was around the same time as Snatch, Brotherhood of the Wolf. There was just like things that were people were doing different shit that I was really excited about. Um, and let's do it, dude. Why don't you lay it out there? Who's in it? I'm gonna sit here and hit my pen here, my delicious pen. Look at it, it's really pretty too.
That's beautiful.
I asked my homie. I was like, "Yo, I need another battery from the weed shop," and he brought back that really pretty one. I was like, "Yo, that's fucking nice. Thanks, guy." But yeah, dude, who's in it? Because there's some great names in this thing, and who made it, and all that good stuff. What does IMDb think is about?
All right, we got Dog Soldiers from 2002, rated R, 1 hour and 45 minutes. And this thing is written and directed by Neil Marshall, like you said, just a powerhouse.
Yes.
Um, and it's got a little bit of talent in there too. We
Yes.
Sean Pertwee,
Is
who
one of my favorites. We mentioned before, and I was like, I love this dude, man. I love him so much. Like anytime he's on the screen, if he don't fucking sell you at that when they're talking about his buddy who got his ass blown up and stuff, like it's just he's fire, man. He carries a lot of weight in this,
Oh yeah,
from the beginning all the way through. We'll get there, But yeah, Sean Pertwee, the shit, dude. We love you, Sean.
we love you, Sean. It was Event Horizon. You might know Sean from.
Yeah,
That's where he
I
got
think
blown
he
up in the
played
show.
Alfred at some point.
Oh shit, he did in Gotham.
Right, yeah, he played Alfred in Gotham. That's right. Yeah, he's good across the board, man. Sean Purvey's an amazing talent, and I hope dude just keeps working until he's like, you know what, I want to do something else.
Yeah, yeah. We got Kevin McKidd as Cooper. Also good. Like I didn't really recognize him for
But
much,
you
but
see him in like Danny Boyle movies and shit. Over in the UK and stuff. I feel like when I watch cinema from over there, especially around this time, maybe a little before, and I don't know a lot of these cats, in their full bodies of work, but him, I know I've seen. I know I've seen that face, and I know, he's been around and he's good though. Cooper's awesome.
yeah, he's really good in this. Emma Cleesby plays Megan in her 2002 white tank top. It's a horror mainstream.
Yeah.
All women must wear a white tank top.
Yes. Yes, you have to. It was the horror mainstream around that time, man. Just everybody. Didn't matter who you were, girl, dude, fuck it. It doesn't matter. Just yeah, you were in a white tank top, a tight one. Tight.
Yeah, tight one. Yeah, yeah. Liam Cunningham, who we've seen a lot, he plays Ryan, and he was kind of hard to see. I had to like age him in my mind to figure out who he was because he looks so young in this, and now like he's from his Game of Thrones days. He
Right.
was.
Yeah. Which he does look a lot. But once you see it, yeah. And this movie is, it doesn't look like it had the biggest budget. It had enough budget and they put it where it went. But in some areas it is dark. It's just a dark movie. And there's no, so seeing somebody's like full features and stuff like that, I don't feel it's the best example to showcase like, oh yeah, I remember that dude in this $10 million production where his face is lit perfect and shit. This is early. They're out in the woods. It looks, in real woods and stuff. And I dig that.
What makes this movie work is one that it has a million horror movie montages in it. It has
Can I ask you why you're leaning so far over that one way?
my microphone's over there.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah. I'm trying to look at you and I'm like, dang, he's over there a little bit. I can still hear you good. Yeah, right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I'm taking the elevator down. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I'll try to. I definitely have to adjust the microphone. That's the first thing I've realized. The
Yeah.
mic is not in a place where I want it. But yeah, this movie, like it's a love letter to tons of other movies of its genre. Except for I feel like it was definitely you can feel that it was on a lower budget.
Yep.
All the money's there on screen though. It's put into the werewolf costumes.
Looks so fucking good, dude. The
That
werewolf.
looks so fucking cool. Yeah. And then the rest, a lot of it is just military play, dude. A lot of it is just dudes walking with cool guns through
Yeah.
the forest, through a dark house. And they spend a lot of time on that. But because they're so done up so well and so accurate, it looks legit and it looks really cool.
And the camaraderie is strong. Like you feel like these dudes probably hung out for a while, you know. It felt very natural. Like, and some of them like, why we gotta be out here, Sarge? I'm missing a fucking footy. Like the, you know, there was they felt genuine to me, being somebody who, you know, spent almost a decade in the military. These dudes felt like they had that brothership, and I feel that Cooper. So give me what IMDb so we can talk about this because I want to talk about, you know, the different character traits and things like that. And it's pretty like the movie opens on some shit that I don't want to get into till we can talk about it.
Right, right, yeah. So uh IMDb kills it again. A routine military exercise turns into a nightmare in the Scottish wilderness. Period.
Wah, 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 wah.
Doesn't even mention werewolves.
Right. That's I can't remember if From Dusk Till Dawn mentioned vampires or not.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But this, in the same way, is very much similar to From Dusk Till Dawn in that you actually know it's not because we open up right out of the gate with a couple in the woods getting killed by the werewolf. We know there's some kind of monster. Whereas in From Dusk Till Dawn, we did not see monster until we were in the fucking bar way later on. Whereas this, we do get the setup that there's creatures in the woods. You got this couple out there, they're romantic and shit. He's like, "Oh, I fucking love you," and gives her or she gives him a maybe a silver letter opener. Like,
Silver dagger, like what?
I
That's what
don't
all
think it was.
girlfriends.
No, I don't think it was a dagger. Right? It was small. It was more like a letter opener. I feel like it's a letter opener. It's
It's the
not a big
world's most
one.
fucked up letter opener.
I don't know. I'd be like, that's kind of cool. Looks like a little sword. I mean, that's the land of castles and shit, dude. They're probably all into it. Like, give me a fucking cool little knight sword to open my mail. So I'd be like, fuck you. Um, But they're getting ready to do the hanky panky, and then all of a sudden you get werewolf attack, but we don't see much. I think we just see the tent kind of being torn apart, and then this,
She gets pulled out, and he
yeah,
grabs onto her, and then he only catches her lower, her upper half.
right, and then she gone,
She
and then
gone.
he gone, everybody gone. But the sound design right out of the gate is good. I like the way these werewolves sound. You know, it's very guttural. The snarls are good. This is someone who knows how to make a fucking movie and took what they had and made a movie with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of those people who's just like, yes, you give this person some money, they're gonna do like a Peter Jackson or some shit. You know, it's like they will use that money good to make their thing really well. And I feel Neil Marshall did that super well here because
Doesn't need like a bunch of special effects and stuff because he has the like his editing is so phonetic. He
yeah,
knows how to create tension. He knows how to make things like exciting and like you get those quick cuts of like just things moving through the woods and
right.
that's what like adds to the atmosphere. Like you don't have to see shit. It's just sound and quick movement.
And you're right. And your brain fills in the blanks, you
Yeah.
know, and these two get dispatched relatively quickly. Then we jump to Cooper is now out in the woods and he's running and he's fighting dudes off. And you're like, oh shit, like we're straight up military. Like you said, this is a military movie. And it's shot like a military movie well in so many ways. Like you said, the combat sequences are put together in ways that make sense. It's not just somebody putting a gun out the door, and these dudes are tactical. They're trying to figure things out and adapting as they go. It seems sort of military. Um, and we see Cooper out in the woods. They finally capture him, and that's when Ryan comes out. And Ryan's the big bad, you know, like the military dude who's willing to do anything to get the fucking job done. And he says, Cooper, you like broke the record or whatever. And this is similar to a seer training where you're trying to avoid capture for as long as possible. They're gonna find you, but you're trying to get away from it as long as possible. And he's like, oh, you broke the record and shit, da da da. And he's like, here's a gun, kill that dog. And he's like, wait, what, sir? And he's like, kill that fucking dog, Cooper. And he's like, no, sir, I won't kill that dog. And he's like, well, how can I trust you? Essentially, how can I trust you to do some heinous shit if you can't even kill that dog? And he said, it's not that I can't kill a dog. I'm just not going to kill that dog. Like that dog doesn't have any reason for me to kill it. I would kill a dog if it was necessary, but not this dog. And then he tells him, oh, well, fuck, you just fucking failed. Bye. You're done. You're not in the special death squad or whatever they were. And so Cooper say he's gone, and then I want to say we fly in maybe a cool like there's a couple helicopter shots because I don't think we're doing cool drone shit at this time, but we get some nice shots and a good score too. Whoever put the music together serves it really well. Because there's all those little elements that can make or break a movie that people don't really think about, and,
Right.
and having the right music to set your tone and having somebody who understands that I think, and I would like to believe that Neil Marshall is probably a good communicator on set as well. He's getting performances out of people. The effects team really showed up. The heads kind of reminded me of what was it, Peach Fuzz from Creep, the Mark Duplass thing when he's in the fucking werewolf head and he's like, hey, guy, like being all weird. Um, but it looked like he got a lot of good out of a lot of different departments of people. And who knows how much he was directly connected to this, because this might have been his first full feature. I'm not sure. I know he had some shorts in there somewhere, but he was probably really invested in this shit and making sure that his baby, because when, like you had mentioned, writer director, you got to be able to take an idea like military werewolf movie. People are like, I don't fucking know. Because in their mind, they're thinking, like, what are you going to do? Put the howling with the Pacific? And it's like, no, not that. Yeah. So you got to be able to communicate that idea. So we now have Cooper back with, and well, I can't remember Sean Pertwee's character's name. They just call him Sarge a lot, I feel like. They're always just calling him Sarge. But either way, Sarge. So he's got his little gang of weekend warriors, essentially the military reservists is what these guys are, and they're going to do their training hours out in the woods. They've been told you got to go out, do this thing, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go out, hang out. And like you said, we get them marching on hills, some really cool wide shots. He got way down, got these guys way up on a hill while they're whistling and singing and shit as the military type dudes. We sit down around a campfire, and this is where Sean Pertwee shines. I love this. And this is what got me. This is what sold me immediately is he tells this fucking haunting story of him and his homies in the war and shit. And he's like, yeah, the one guy, he we're all gonna go get little tattoos or whatever. And he's like, I got this tattoo here. And he's like, oh, such and such. He gets a smiling little Nick right on him, little devil right on his ass. And he says, we're doing our patrols, this, that, and the other. And because the guy had a story, something about, God can have my soul, but the devil can take my skin or something like that. But dude ended up standing on a landmine and blowing himself the fuck up. And the only piece that was left with this little chunk of charred ass with a little devil, a little red devil on it. But this is a great story. It's set well. Anyone who's ever sat around a campfire, knows the crackling. Again, the sound design is really good. It sounds like fire in the woods. And
Yeah.
as someone who grew up making fires in the woods, I like when fire in the woods sounds like fire in the woods. It's just a good thing. So, and then they changed the subject pretty quickly because it's getting kind of somber. And he's like, what do you think the footy's doing? This one guy, I like him too. I can't remember all their names, but I really like him. He's kind of the tough, one of the tougher cats. But then out of nowhere, a fucking cow. So what did you think when the cow just fell in? Because I love this. I love this moment because you think about a traditional jump scare. It's not a
Right.
fucking cow falling into your bonfire.
No, absolutely not. Like this was like completely outrageous, completely out of left field. And it was like the cat, but like how can we take that cat trope and fucking make it nuts? Drop a fucking cow out of the fucking midair, dude. right into the middle of the camp. Like I was like, where did that thing come from? Like, did it fall out of a fucking plane? Like, what the fuck? It just falls and just like splatters, dude. And
And it's
then
a fucked up cow. Like
yeah,
it was
yeah,
skin and shit. Like it looks like it's been through a lot. It's not just a regular cow.
yeah, no, this cow is not like you're not gonna cook it up for some fucking steaks.
Right.
It's got some problems. But yeah, the way they show it though, that like it was like up on this fucking cliff, like above them, and they were like in so like they like in a place where like you
Under
wouldn't
a
see
ledge to
the
protect you
fire.
from the rain. Yeah, to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
out of the
yeah.
weather. Yeah, they're in a little like enclave or I don't know, something, a fucking hole in the wall in the
Right.
rock. Yeah, or under a
One
rock.
of the things I liked about this is that I tend to take the piss out of movies. That's just like my thing.
Always,
And I would start to take the piss out of it, and then they would explain it, and I'd be like, "You clever motherfuckers."
which is probably a great way to look at your movie. Is try and be like, how could someone take the piss out of this? And be like, hey,
Yeah,
put a little
yeah,
exposition right there, a little bit of something right there.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
my favorite is that when the cow falls, oh boy, and they're just all on a training exercise. He jumps out and starts shooting the motherfucker, and he's like,
Yeah.
"There's
And they're like,
planks
it's
in there."
blank.
Like, well, yeah, yeah. But I love the natural, instinctual military response. Like, yo, some shit
Shoot
just
it.
fell out of the fucking sky. You shoot that motherfucker. Um, and I can't recall where they start talking about the cow, and I want to say Sarge tells them pretty quick, or no, it's not until they find the camp that had been destroyed, and I want to say that's pretty close to where they're at.
Mhm.
And because they find all the other, and they're like, "Yo, Sarge, these are Black Ops motherfuckers. Like, I know these cats. These are the dudes that I was trying to hang out with." Cooper's telling him this. And and Sarge tells him, okay, as of right now, this is fucking live exercise. Like, we're done. We're not, this is live ammunition. Pick up what you can, load your weapons. I have no idea what the fuck's going on, but we essentially have Army Rangers, the whole squad of them out here dead, or whatever the UK Black Ops, kind of real bad motherfuckers are.
Right.
It's Cooper, not Cooper, Ryan is still alive. And this is the dude that failed Cooper out of the program. So he couldn't be Spec War, and he has I think his guts are out, and they start bandaging him up. Yeah, he's got a big bandage across his stomach. And he won't give them the information right away, like what the fuck is going on. And they're looking, they're like, this shit doesn't make any sense. Like these guys look like they got ambushed, but there's no, all the spent rounds are from their guns. There's none of this doesn't really add up. And they're like, okay, we got to get the fuck out of here because they might hear something in the woods. And then we get a really cool kind of in the woods action sequence while they're
Right.
chasing each other around.
It's all very Predator, dude.
Mhm.
Like,
I was waiting for the click.
yeah,
Yeah. Because you're right. It is. And of course, man, you think this guy was probably fucking. We all love Predator.
yeah, dude.
Definitely that influence of Predator without the hyper masculinity that Predator tends to bring, or that
Right.
whole era of, dudes blowing shit up and killing aliens tends to bring. Well, I guess not really. Alien Ripley was the badass, but you still had, come on, we gotta go, man. We gotta get out of here, man. Doing one arm fuck pull ups, like, yeah, this is some sexy shit.
Yeah.
uh, so they're running through the woods now, and you get some real cool camera work. I feel like I saw a little Evil Dead influence in there. The
Mhm.
the wolf vision had a different look to it, and it would be like like these weird noises that would come along with the wolf, kind of black and white, just different. The some kind
So
of effect where it looked almost telescoped a little bit
it
or
had like heat
distorted.
vision or something. Like they were like predators.
Which they are. Wolves are fucking predators. I mean, we should say the original Predator was acting more like a fucking wolf, because that's why, you know what I mean? Yeah, the one that Arnie had to fight, he just had cool lasers. You start putting wolves with lasers on them, we're all done, dude. We're fucking done if wolves get lasers. It's over. It's all over.
That's a good movie
Um,
idea.
Right, right. It's already been kind of done with Kung Fury, though. I did watch that. I watched Kung Fury, tried it at least every 6 months when he's like, fuck, the Viking Age. That explains the laser raptors. Like, that is one of the best lines ever written, dude. Because he knew exactly what, genius, genius. Anyway, back to Dog Soldiers. We get a really unexpected crazy death in this one. Dude's like hauling ass, they're shooting back. We don't, like you said, quit through the woods where you see like a shadow or a shape. You don't know exactly what it is, but you see something. And these dudes are running all over. And my man's run straight into a fucking like a spiky stick on a fall on a tree that's down, and
Yeah.
right just through his fucking guts. And he's just looking down at it like fuck. Sarge takes a gash to the stomach, and Sarge's guts are falling out. And he's like, Cooper, you leave me. That's a fucking order. And he's like, I'm not fucking leaving you, Sarge. We gotta go. And so they take off and run into Megan. Was that the name? Her name, Megan? I think.
Lady
Um,
in the white tank top.
right, white tank
All
top.
you need to know.
No, she's good. She does carry some good shit in this movie. I think she plays really well. Way more than more than white tank top. I want a white tank top that says I'm more than a white tank top. Um,
I
so
love in this scene. He gets his guts fucking, they're falling out of him. He's holding on to his intestines, and the guy's like, let me shove him back in. And he's like, you fucking idiot. They're not going to fit.
right.
Whoa, dude. That's badass. That's not what I would be worried about if my guts were falling out.
And because he is just screaming at him, like, leave me here, you got to get out of here. But they get a handful of them into the truck. I think we lose two right here, possibly three. I don't remember because when we get to the farmhouse after meeting up with Tank Top, we got Cooper, Ryan, Sarge, our crazy cat, the explodey guy who's the munitions dude, and there's like one or two other ones. But this is where we kind of get our first breather. You know, we had a little, actually, we did around the campfire. We got the pacing in this is really well done. And I feel like it doesn't feel like an hour and 45 minutes. When you get done, you're like, yeah. Um, and so we get to this farmhouse, and we're going to use this as our kind of, this is a cool farmhouse too. I don't know where they found it, but they got to blow this shit up at the end, really blow it up. You saw that they had the cameras everywhere, get every angle because we're going to splody this bitch. And we've got this old farmhouse. She's taking them down, and relatively quick, we start talking about werewolves. And I don't know if it's her that explains it.
Suspiciously knows a lot about werewolf.
Right. She knows a lot about yeah. And she knows the family whose house it is, but she says they're gone. They're out of town or whatever. She's like, I know these people. We can go there, try and use the phone because fucking Sarge is in the back, like, fuck. Um, they do get to taking care of him pretty quick. And I like Sarge in the bed after they get him fucking boozed up and doped up. He's like, I fucking love you, Cooper. And he's like, it's gonna hurt, Sarge. But they got him upstairs. He's bandaged up, now kind of passed out. We're gathering up ammunition, weapons, anything that can be used against this werewolf threat. And we do get the exposition of they hunt in packs. You know, wolves are militant. There's so many, nature is militant in a lot of ways. They will circle you up. They will slowly push you in. They'll push you this way. They'll push you that way. And they're like, okay, we need a defense against this werewolf threat. And I want to say Cooper looks around the house for a while, sees some people. They don't start. They're shooting out the windows, right? For a little while. I feel like here we slow down for a minute and because Ryan's not fully healed up yet. We don't understand his thing. They have him tied up, but he hasn't really told them everything that's going on.
Right.
Yeah, but he wants the answer. Like, just give me the fucking answer of what we got going on. So I say they shoot out the windows a little bit. The werewolves try and get in, but now we stop and Ryan tells them, "You guys were the bait. We knew this threat was out here, and we wanted to capture one alive so we could use it for the military." Which is exactly what the military would do. It is exactly what the military would do. But we only expected one werewolf, not a whole pack of werewolves. And so when they were ambushed in the woods, they, were ready for a little small fight, but not to be descended upon, probably out of nowhere and just torn to shreds. So he tells them, you guys were the bait, blah, blah, blah. I want to say Cooper's real pissed at him, punches him, might even want to shoot him or some shit, but doesn't because Cooper's a good dude, he's not going to shoot the dog until he absolutely has to. They start to put some traps together, which is really good. And she tells, because maybe they fucked up her truck outside and she tells them there's a car in the barn because we do have to get to the barn at some point.
Right.
But there's going to be a distraction. We've got, the boiling pots of water on the fucking stove. And to your point, as you mentioned earlier, this set piece is sweet and he
Yeah,
shoots
dude.
it good. And the werewolves look so tall.
Yeah.
I like that.
They made the good choice to they used ballet dancers.
Is that
To
what it
do
was?
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
they would get real like graceful movements, but then they put them on stilts that were like crooked stilts, and so it like just the costume made the performance.
Right. It like forced their hand almost into how it had to move. Yeah, because they're big, they're
Yeah,
wide,
really big.
filling a room. They'll be in front of a window and just, rah, and you got long hair, these big manes coming down, cool snarls and shit. But before we get there, before they're fully in, we try to get into the barn, and they got a pretty dope plan. I'm going to distract them from here. You go out there, get the car, and then we'll get the car and try and get the fuck out of here. Uh, that doesn't work at first because dude goes to try and get the car and gets killed while he's out there. And then they're going to come up with a plan to blow the werewolves up, lure the werewolves into the barn and blow them all to bits. Okay, got a great plan. Everybody's fucking running, jumping out of windows and shit. It's good. Fuck. Boom, we go back in, and this might be after dude fights, like fist fights the one werewolf, and that's some good shit.
That was the greatest shit, dude. Like I was like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, dude. None of these guys were like, oh, why is this happening to us?
They
They're
were
like,
go.
let's fuck these motherfuckers up. Yeah.
And he stabs the shit out of that werewolf at first. He's like,
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, dude. Yeah, he
And then,
goes for
yeah,
it.
throws
One of
his
the best
hands up.
fist fights. Like I would put this up there with the They Live fist fight.
It's good. Not as long, but it really is because it's a small little kitchen set and they're throwing each other. He's getting thrown around. And you get this moment at the end after he stabs the shit out of the werewolf and you think he's got it, the snarl. You just get this snout, and muzzle in his face. And he looks right at it and he's just like, I hope I give you the shits, you motherfucker, and spits right in the werewolf's face. And I'm like, yeah, one-liners. One line. And from this guy, it worked. It felt, yeah,
Yeah, this
felt
guy's
good.
such
It
a
felt
fucking
that.
badass. He knew he was gonna die. So
Yeah.
he's not even fist fighting his hardest to like survive. He's fist fighting his hardest because he knows he's gonna get fucked up. But he's like, I'm gonna fuck this thing up before he fucks me up.
I'm going out, dude. I'm going out. And by now, though, we've seen, I want to say, because after they blow the barn, or maybe even before they blow no, it was before they blow the barn that they see Ryan turn because he goes out and then starts to lead the other werewolves a little more militantly.
Mhm.
And we know it's the Ryan werewolf, I think, because of the dog tags
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he has on. Yeah, that lets us know. So this all happened after he got out, and he's like, "We got to blow the fuck barn up." They do. They successfully execute this little side mission, thinking all the werewolves are gone. Nah, didn't happen. There were no werewolves in the barn. Why were there no werewolves in the barn? We learned pretty quick because Megan is a fucking werewolf. She was the one holding the camera. She was the one taking the pictures of this family. She's got some good one-liners, like, they say a woman becomes a bitch when it's her time of the month, but I really am one, or something like that. It's action movie, and Sarge knows he's about to turn at some point too. And he's talking to Cooper. He's like, yo, I'm gonna try and help for as long as I can fucking help, but you guys gotta do this thing. He's locked up in a closet. There's werewolves trying to get in. He's got a fucking flamethrower screaming at him, or a can of aerosol, like, fuck you.
Yeah, he's a fucking badass, and that was one of those moments too where they glued him back together. Like they glued his guts back in. He took a nap, and then he wakes up like ready to fight again. And I was like, "This is fucking horse shit." Like glue doesn't fucking fix that shit. It doesn't
Right.
hold your guts in. But then like you find out that like, oh, he's turning into a werewolf, so he's starting to heal.
I
And
think he even shows his stomach to Cooper and is like, "Is this
yeah, yeah,
fucking normal, Cooper? Like this ain't fucking right." Yeah.
Cooper's like, "You're gonna be all right, Sarge. You're gonna be all right. You're bouncing back already. That glue job I did really fucking did the trick." And he's like, "You fucking idiot."
Right.
I love this scene where he's fucking passed out on the bed, dude, and the werewolf is coming into the fucking room, and Cooper's like shooting at it and shit, and he's like, "Fuck, Sarge, wake up, wake up!" And he wakes up, and he's like, "Oh shit!" and just starts fucking shooting.
Right.
He's like, "Oh shit!" He's got a machine gun and a fucking pistol, and he's like, "Fuck, fuck."
So good.
Yeah, and he's just like he woke up, dude, and just started fucking fighting
That's
military.
who he is. Yeah, that's who he is. He is that guy. And so Sarge and Cooper do come to some sort of an agreement, though, that I'll take you out if need be, but I'm not going to let this shit happen. We get down to the kitchen, and Megan turns into a cool werewolf. We're in the kitchen, and this is after after Sarge busts out of the little pantry closet. There's where he had been shooting fire at the werewolf through the hole in the pantry. And he comes out, and this is really good. There's like a bunch of them in the house. Like, maybe not a bunch, maybe three. It doesn't matter though. They're so fucking big.
Just werewolves, that's a bunch.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it's taken over the whole thing. And he had already pulled threw a pot of water on the stove, pulled the gas line, so it's just straight going. He's got all the oven and everything going, and then says something cool. I don't remember what Sarge gets at the end, but then blows the whole fucking house up. The whole top is gone. Now, meanwhile, Cooper is down in the basement, and he, and shit kind of rattles and settles and stuff. They really were good about capturing the explosion from a lot of angles. It looked good.
Hey, dude, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "This is one of them old school."
That's real. That's real.
All the splinters of the wood flying out, dude. You're like, "Fuck yeah!"
There's something magical about an old school house explosion because you're going to see it at least 5 or 6 different angles because they put so much work into it. And it does look so good. It's always going to look better than a fake explosion. I don't care, but it looks great. So, boom, this whole thing goes off. Cooper is down in the base, and I don't know if we saw Sarge turn full werewolf. I know he was starting to, but I don't know if we saw him turn full werewolf before the house exploded. I don't think we do. And Cooper's down in the basement trying to figure out what's going on, get a way out, and then Ryan shows up. Ryan Werewolf from the beginning, the dude who wouldn't give him the shot because he didn't have the fucking balls. We get a really cool fight down here in the basement. It's like you said, it's military. It's passionate because these two guys already don't fucking like each other because philosophical, ideological differences. And they fight for a while, and Ryan ends up stabbing him with the little silver backpack knife thingy that the family had clearly taken all the camping shit from the people they had killed and eaten and brought it back home. And he finds this silver thing and fucking plunges it into him. And I want to say there might be something else dramatic that happens, but I know it's like burning up in his chest and shit. And he says something cool. And then we get dead Ryan. Or no, he shoots him. He shoots him right in the fucking head. He's like, I just won't kill that dog. And it came full circle. Like, I will kill this dog. I'll show you, motherfucker, that I can kill a dog. I just won't kill that dog. And then he's running around with the dog and shit that was Megan's dog at the end that looked very similar to some kind of herd dog. Really pretty dog.
You forgot to mention when they went down into the basement and they found all the bodies.
Oh, right.
They've been eating.
Mm-hmm.
And those bodies were actually from Event Horizon. They had been made for that, and they fucking used them. And if you notice, they're all cut up weird, like they're all like segregated or segmented. Like,
yeah, that's cool. All right, that's a nice little fun fact. I like that shit. And then we get to some cool credits, and you get like this kind of military score. What is it? So, out of 5. Awesome fucking werewolves. How many do you give Dog Soldiers?
4.25. This gets high praise for me, dude. I will always pick a independent film that works with their budget over something like the Frank Grillo Werewolves, where it's just fucking like had a little bit of a budget. They still didn't have a huge budget, but they had a decent budget, and they did less with their movie than these guys did on a lesser budget, dude.
Right.
And you had characters.
We do have to, in defense of that new Werewolves movie, this came out in, like we said, 2002, 2003, where the video store was where you got your shit. It was
Right.
easy to get a little bit more exposure. But I think you're right. This is, for me, is 4.5. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Like and it doesn't get enough love, and he would go on to do other shit that I loved, like The Descent and
That is
Centurion.
so scary, dude.
Dude, Centurion is fucking awesome. It's a great, like, kind of epic military thing. And then, yeah, The Descent is terrifying. And then he did the Hellboy thing that a lot of people crapped on, but I was like, I kind of like that Hellboy. Like, I wasn't mad at the Golden Army.
Yeah.
And I want to say there was a couple other things, and then some shorts that he had done that I really liked. But yeah, for me, a 4.5. But why don't you let everybody know why you give this a 4.25?
Yeah, this, like I said, it's just I see a small budget and they're doing as much as they can with it, is I fucking respect the shit out of it. But they also, like, it's got The Thing, it's got Predator, it's got fucking Jaws, it's got every movie that like I just love. And I always say, like, that's the best thing you can do at this point in time when everything's been made, is take a bunch of cool shit and mix it into like a palatable, easy to digest story of werewolves versus soldiers.
Right.
And it's super cool. I feel like I've seen this done before, but never this good. I don't think it would have been as good if they were American soldiers. I like that they were Scottish, and like some of the military stuff was not as easy to spot. Like, I'm sure you are like kind of terrible
No,
hearts.
I thought they did good with it. I don't know who was their military coordinator, but there was nothing where I was, and again, I don't know their military, I've met like the Canadian Navy and shit and some other like go like Costa Rican fuck Coast Guard and shit, but not never over on that side. But I didn't see anything. Like I said, it was more the feeling. They gave the feeling of military. Like these guys, if you can give the feeling of that, it's easy to forgive some shit, feel like the patch is on the wrong side or something like that. But if you have like fucked up uniforms and no feeling, then what's the point?
Yeah, yeah. These guys had cool uniforms. They all had the same uniform, which
Right.
you hardly ever see. You always got like, well, I got a cool different fucking suit and all this stuff.
Right, right.
Um, and yeah, like I think other than a sports team, the only time you're going to be able to connect to that brotherhood is like in the military. You like buy that these dudes have been through some shit. I love too, these guys weren't special forces like maniacs. These were like weekend warrior dudes
Yeah.
going out like, doing like
They would
normal.
rather be doing everything else except for Sarge. Sarge is happy to be out there with them, leading these bunch of guys, being a mentor.
But
And a
they're
lot,
still badasses. Not one of them was like, I'm so scared. What do I do?
right, right. Like when the shit hit the fan, they were ready to go. Like,
Ready
okay,
to fucking go. When the cow fell out of the sky, that dude was just like ready. He was like, blast that motherfucker.
and he even says cow. Brrr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the addition of the like yellow things on their barrels to show that they were like shoot
Blanks.
blanks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Those were just nice little touches, that he did his research.
Right. And yeah. And for me, it's one of my favorite werewolf movies since I've seen it the first time. It's a director I like, it's themes that I like, it's performances that are good, it's sound that is good, it's editing that is good. It's a movie that I've gone back to. I will never turn it off. If I see it come on TV, I'll be like, I'm just going to turn that on.
Yeah.
And it's something that I go and seek out personally, though, probably, once a year or something like that. I was like, I need to visit Dog Soldiers real quick just because it's creativity in my mind. Is creativity done right? They just
Right.
you're right. Yeah, it's just creativity done right. If
It had
you
always been on my radar, but I'd never seen it. I remember that like black movie cover with like the red outlined
yeah,
and
the dog tags. I think it's got the dog tags on it. Yeah.
yeah, super simple, but like fucking effective, but not enough so for me to ever picked it up until you asked me to. So
Yeah, it wasn't a super exciting cover. It was a cool cover, but it didn't make you want to. But I don't know how you could effectively articulate what this movie's trying to say. Like, hey, do you like fucking werewolves and soldiers and shit? We're gonna put those things together. But it is a definite must watch. I don't know, where did you watch it at? Where did you find it?
I watched it on Prime and it was with Prime for
Oh,
free.
sweet. Yeah, I know I've owned it. I have like a DVD copy and another copy and a digital copy. So I don't know where, but I want to say it's on a couple of the other ones too. Maybe even some of the free ones like Pluto or Tubi or something like that. But you can find this movie. It's very accessible. If you're just looking for a really good time, a fun ride, check this thing out, man. It's cool. Yeah, ton of fun. Dog Soldiers, fucking great. All right, let's talk about the mindfulness part of today's show. I yesterday spent all day doing nothing except reading. I just sat around and read. I read a whole book. I finished one book and then I read a whole another book and just did nothing else. I didn't turn my
Read two
TV
books in
on.
one day.
I would no, I read probably like 50, 60 pages of one book and then like 350-ish of another book.
Hey, good on you, buddy.
Uh, I like reading. It's fun. There was one
I like reading.
there was one year where I read 150. My goal was 150 that year, and I think I had done by October. And it was like, four, maybe sometimes like three or four books a week. But I do like to read. And I was like, I just want to sit. I didn't turn the TV on. I didn't turn anything on. I was like, I need fucking quiet in my life. And so I finished the first book, which was a by Thich Nhat Hanh. He's that Zen Buddhist that I really like. We started with that, and then I finished. I read Clown in a Cornfield, which was it was fine. It was something. I saw a trailer come out for it, and I remember my kid had the book laying around, so I went and grabbed the book, and I was like, I'm just gonna read this. And I haven't read anything, just kind of like that in a while. Just some shit. Just give me a story, a scary story. It's always, for the most part, been developmental or trying to grow and do these things. But the first book left me thinking all day about this idea, and I can't get away from it. And I think it's a good thing though. I was trying to talk to my wife and my mom, kind of both about this place where I feel I've been as far as, growth, spiritual growth, I guess if you will, for back of a letter term, for lack of a better term. But just in that respect, like that no ego, kind of no self stuff. And for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been wrestling with this idea of, going from self to no self, like going from self to no self. And I feel like I'm hitting a point now where I want to go from self and no self to transcending the idea of self to begin with, if that makes sense.
Explain a little more.
So I've been looking at this idea of I have to deconstruct me. You know what I mean? I want to remove some of these things that built me, these elements that piece me together. I want to deconstruct that and be more nothing, more ghosty, be a kindness ghost out there doing shit. However, if I step back, like I've already worked through a lot of that, but step one more layer above, like imagine you're looking at it right now. I'm in the situation. I am the person looking at the self and then trying to develop the no self. Take one step above that and realize the concept of self was faulty to begin with, that there never was a self construct. I made the self construct through ego decisions and things like that, and allowed my environment and my own decision making to do this, and genetic memory and all that. But it's, again, I was talking to Shayna and my mother about it. I'm like, I've seen behind that curtain a little bit, and now I feel like it's the only thing I want is to be in that space, and not to like be in there all, like meditating my life away doing those things. However, once it's freedom, it feels free, like so free. Like I don't have to carry around all this bullshit weight anymore, all the stuff that I was even, I'm trying to let go of shit that is hard, like food, trying to remove my memories of food. So
Right.
that way, no matter what's in front of me, I'm not comparing it like, oh, this is good, but let me tell you about this place I went. You know, there's none of that. It's just like, this is the food. This is it. This is all I have. And just letting that shit, and then trying to, when I'm walking, be walking. When I'm eating, be eating. When I'm fucking podcasting, be podcasting. When I'm drawing, be drawing. Do all those things. And it's weird when that shit happens, because I don't think, like, I wish I could give that to someone. I wish I could give them that feeling, but I know now it's something that has to be discovered on your own. You can't, people can point you in the right direction, but it's somewhere you got to get by yourself. But once you get to that, like, no self, no, like, not even the idea of a self, like that realization, it's almost like a veil was taken away a little bit, and the realization that there was no self to begin with, to deconstruct. I've been spending all this time deconstructing this self, but there never was one to begin with, and that was just so liberating. It's like holy shit, because then I mean, if I'm being honest with you, dude, like time ain't even making sense anymore. Like the idea of time, the more I sit and meditate on it, I'm like, this just doesn't, it doesn't make sense. It is, and people say, yeah, time is an illusion and shit like that. In some ways, but I feel like that term gets tossed around too loosely. We just throw it around. But the idea of time, when there is no idea of self to put in a moment in time, if I can't place myself in a moment, if there is no self to put in a moment, and when I say the no self, like all of the elements of me existed before me. They are just now manifested in this way, and they will deconstruct and still be. You know what I'm saying? So, right. I know you're looking at me like this motherfucker. Uh, so the idea of time, that I exist in a specific moment of time, when that above the self, no self, there becomes really no birth or death. There's like no, I didn't start and stop because every piece of me already existed before this element. Now we could, there's an argument to be made. Did the consciousness fucking exist before I physically did and somebody boom, plucked it into my dome? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and argue all that, but I do know, just from a self, as we, I think, typically identify with the self as my fingers, my toes, my eyes, my this, my that, is made completely of elements that existed before you were even born, before we were even born. All those elements existed. Everything was already there. It's just now you took the clay and built it up into this way, and it's going to stay that way for probably, hopefully, 80 years or so. And then the clay is going to be put back into something else, but the clay is still going to be there, and the clay was already all there. So how can I claim to be completely independent of anything? I don't know.
There is no spoon, Pops.
Dude, I pulled out, my boy was laughing at me, Jason. He lives with us right now. He's staying with us and he's doing some really cool shit. But I have a book on the shelf called, what's it called? What would Keanu say? And I opened it up to the no spoon part. And I sat there and thought about it again for a while. And I'm like, I get it. There is no, like, the spoon isn't a spoon.
Right.
It's everything that is now manifesting in that time and moment as a spoon, but it's not a spoon. You can't say, I have spoon. How would you describe red to a blind person?
Right.
you know and so many, and it's the red. Like, I was just reading some recently that said the red, adapted over time in some things because it made it easier for us to identify shit we could eat and shit we couldn't eat. Like berries got brighter and things got different colors. And he made another great argument, and I'll leave it at this. He was talking, his thing was more about different religions and how people got to stop being so intolerant of one another and sit down and have really good conversations. He said, I look for authentic religion, and what that is for me is it rooted in true compassion, kindness, charity, peace, love, all of those things that kind of are in these things. And he's like, it's taking two. It's like if you had an orange and a grapefruit, right? Is one more authentic fruit than the other one, right?
I,
So
yeah.
you think about it, they're made up of the same glucose, they're made up of the same things. A lot of, almost all the components, they're just manifested a tiny bit differently, but they're still, um, the components are still the same. And so there is, I think, in lots of different religions, there's a lot of good things that were in the base traditions that have been lost and have been, corrupted over time. But as soon as somebody says, well, my way is the only way, then that's, you're already setting up for war and conflict. There's no, let's conversate and try to dig deep enough, sit with each other deep enough to find all those connected threads that, connect us all and make us all one thing. But yeah, he's like, a grape is still a fucking grape and an orange is still an orange. Like, they're both still technically fruit, even if they look a little bit different. They're still made up of the same water, the same sunshine, the same elements, the same dirt was needed in order for these things to grow. You know what I mean? They're just manifesting in one specific way. at that time. So yeah, that was a heavier one this week, but I was like, I'm gonna talk about it because it's just shit I've been thinking about for like 2, 3 days now, or
Uh,
not 2 or 3 days, but at least since yesterday morning, I've been really a day and a half now, really on top of that, thinking about it. And I feel I'm gonna be thinking about it probably for quite a while to come, and just sitting there meditating on it until it just becomes more and more kind of the normal. Because our normal for so many of us is, and I can look back at my normal, what it was, and look at my habit responses. My habit response to pain was normally to run a little bit, to hide away somewhere, or to lash back, to cause someone who caused me pain to cause them pain as well. That's what, you insult me, I'm going to assault you. You hit me, I'm going to fucking hit you right back. uh my response is to feeling slighted or anything like that. I can look back and see, my responses to trauma. My response to trauma was to drink away the pain. Alcohol made it numb, and that was my jam. I liked it being numb because the trauma that I was dealing with. Like I was talking to somebody the other day, and I'm getting to a point now where we got to be really honest with each other. Like, yo, I had some fucked up, I was molested twice before I was fucking pubescent in some weird fucking ways, dude. Like, and that shit was fucked up. We have to deal with that shit, man, and we can help each other deal with that shit. Because once you get outside of it, there's so much liberation. There's so much freedom there because we carry our trauma so deeply, and it defines who we are in so many ways. But the more we can help and get each other free of that stuff, and looking bigger at it, once I relieved the idea of the self, and for a while there I thought I was getting to know self, but then I got to know self and I'm like, fuck, the whole idea was a trick to begin with. Like, this is crazy. But when I can look bigger above that self, I see my mother, who I know went through trauma. I see my sister, who I know went through trauma. I see their mistakes, where some people might bring judgment and say, oh, you did this, you are that. You cheated one time, you're a cheater. I cheated on my first wife, and that shit still fucking haunted me for like 20 years, dude. I remember telling her and fucking bawling, crying, like it was one of the worst experiences of my life. There was a lot of but I can look back at that time now and be like, okay, I'm not that person anymore. You don't have to be that person anymore. This has been, fucking 10, I don't know, 15 years. It's been a long time. Like, it's been quite a while. That doesn't mean to look at from that vantage point is to see everyone as having equitable suffering and equitable pain. And it's so much easier to be like, I fucking feel for you, dude. I don't want that for you. You can have compassion from up there. When there's not so much self, it's so much easier to look at everybody else. And for me, that realization, that eye opening, that veil removal, it was like seeing an inner working connected web all for the first time, like seeing every life connected, every little bit, and not just people. I mean, the connection to the water, to the sun, to the elements, to space, to the moon, to everything. It's like seeing this big interconnected web. And it's like, I just want to give that whole web a fucking hug and be like, dude, I know we're all going through this. I see you. I see you as not only what you see as yourself, but also as the bigger picture. I see you as the same exact cosmos. All the exact elements of the cosmos are in you. If you stare at another human being or even a fucking leaf for long enough, you'll eventually see the sun, and you will see the rain, and you will see some worms, and you will see the wind, and you will see some other shit. And the ability to see that in people, I just wish I could share that with others, and that we could all have a little bit more of that together, because I think it would make the world a cooler place, man. It would make the world a cooler place. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because it just breeds compassion. I don't see there's been no other byproduct of this journey that I've been on. It's been love and kindness and compassion. And if that's the shit I'm going to dedicate my life to, I'm fucking down for the ride, man. Let's go. I will, I'm even looking at stuff now. I told you earlier that I took my TV out of my art room, because I sat there, and after I was thinking, I was like, my TV for the most part just takes, it doesn't really give. It takes. And even the big black box on the wall, it sucked light out. When I moved it, I was like, the room is literally brighter. It's a brighter space. Um, but I'm trying to personally sever, some comforts. I feel like comfort's a motherfucker, dude. It gets us trapped. It gets us trapped in positions where, maybe we don't want to be, or it's so much harder to grow when we're comfortable. If I have nothing in this room but a tiny little fucking radio right over here, that takes tapes and shit, I'm tying my hands. I'm saying you can't sit in there and be a bitch and just relax and watch Netflix for a while. Like that is an art, that is a creative space. You don't go in there for things to be taken, you go in there to give. You're giving your time to your art. You're giving your time. You're not going in there to fuck off and play Call of Duty. You're going in there, you know what I mean? That's what that space is for. And removing those obstacles, it immediately helped. Like I physically can't turn the TV on because it's not in here anymore. And I'm looking for all those little areas in my life. Like, where can I get, that time back and stuff? Because once you start to see that no self, it's almost like everything becomes, for me, it's become so much more important, like the what I can do, what I physically can do in my life. I cannot be distracted. My youngest was like, "Yo, can I come in there and color my coloring books later?" I'm like, "Bet, dude, come into the creative space, but there's no TV in there. You don't bring your shit in there. We don't do that in there anymore." But I can give that time back. Like what actually matters, and for me, it's boiled down to the personal, interpersonal relationships in my life and trying to help those people who need help. That actually matters to me. And I even drew out a little chart and shit like, who are the people I keep closest to me? Why do I keep them the closest to me? What are they? And it's not to say like, yo, I'm picking you because you bring this just to me. It's I see something in you that I want to be more like. I want to be more like you. So I'm keeping you close to me because I see something that I aspire to. And there's a couple roles where I'm like, yo, I don't even have somebody like this in my life, like a mentor that I would actually like to have, somebody who will challenge me and sit down and play a game of chess and we're going to talk about ideas and bigger things. I don't have someone who, I want somebody who's a lot smarter than me, to help bring me up to their level. Because right now, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but a lot of times I just feel like, I'm the smartest guy or close to it in the room. I'm one of those people who in a room I can usually talk about a lot of different things for a long time. I don't want to be that. I want to be surrounded by people who are way fucking brighter than me, where I can shut my mouth and learn some things. I want to be around musicians who are super good at what they do and I want to bounce ideas off them and sit around and learn some things. But then I also want to have a student that I can teach, because the best way to learn something is to teach it to somebody else. It solidifies it in your brain when you have to explain it, when you have to say, this is how it works, why I do what I do. So I want to have a student at the same time. Then I want to have my refuge, which I have my wife. She's my best friend. Shane is my fucking everything. Um, but having there were a couple empty boxes where I'm like, oh, why am I not pursuing these things? Why am I not trying to find these things? Because I could go the other way too. I could be like, I got MS. I'm gonna sit in my chair for the rest of my life and watch TV, and I'm gonna fucking do that. Try to get disability. Like I haven't tried to get any disability through the state or anything like that. And nothing against people who need it, because this disease is very fucked up. Get your fucking disability if you can. But I think a lot of it is a mental game. You can give up mentally before you need to fucking do anything physically. And when you give up early, you're already defeated. If you give up in your mind, you're defeated. So that went way longer than I expected. Do you have anything else you would like? I know that was a lot. Do you have anything else you would like to add to any of that stuff right there?
Just to take it back to your fruit analogy, there's some of us are grapefruits and some of us are oranges. And you know what? It's cool to be an orange. It's cool to be a grapefruit. Accept what you are and accept that they're so much the same as you, even though they're a little bit different.
Well,
But
see, that's the thing though, is once you step up higher, realize you're both.
that
You're
you're a
a
grapefruit.
grapefruit and an orange. And the way he put it, and this is what stuck with me, he said the wave has true freedom when it realizes it's water. It's when you start to say, I'm not the water. I'm a wave. I'm independent from all this. When the wave can be like, yo, I'm part of the whole fucking thing, then it gets a little bit chill. Like you're not a grape or an orange. You're both. You can be, your components. Like inside of all of us, you could split an atom and blow shit the fuck up. You know what I mean? There is that type of nuclear power flowing through us. The birth of the universe is inside of you. Whether you believe theologically that it was a creation or whether you believe that it was a big bang and all material was there, those same exact little bitty elements are more inside of us. And the awareness of that, I think, is where you get some freedom. It's knowing, it's to stop fighting and saying me, me, because the ego is fighting against it and it's saying, yes, the grape and the orange are different.
Right.
That's what your ego wants to tell you. The grape and the orange are different when they're not. I mean, when you break it down to the independent pieces, and then you can go back and look at a grape. Because he talked about this monk on this fucking mountain who's like, yo, I sat there and looked at I used to call him a mountain and a river. And then I sat and meditated on it for, 5, 10 years. And now I can go back and call him a mountain and a river. Once you have the understanding, it's there. It's like riding a bike. It's built into where you'll never probably see a tree as a tree again. You'll be like, that's a part of everything. That's my external lungs where yeah. So you are the grapefruit, Jason. You are the grapefruit, and you are the orange.
Cool.
So tasty. Power bottom grapefruits. Okay, sorry, I cut you off and then corrected you. What else you got?
No, I thought I was an orange, but
Yeah.
apparently I'm a grape and a fucking grapefruit. So
Yeah.
I'll meditate on that for a while.
It's a lot of steps to get to that place. But it feels like the only steps really worth taking. So for the horror pop extravaganza, I have been Pops Ghostly.
And I'm Powers Bottoms.
No! No! No!
Extravaganza.